All right, so today we're going to look at another form of quadratic functions, which is going to be in standard form. So this is when we have the quadratic function f of x equals ax squared plus bx plus c when a does not equal 0. Here, when we graph this parabola, we use the vertex negative b over 2a for the x value, and then evaluate the function to find the y value of the vertex. Our parabola is symmetric to the line x equals negative b over 2a, because remember our line of symmetry is going to match the x value of our vertex. And then determining which direction the graph faces, up or down, is going to be the same. We're going to look at the a value or the number in front. Okay. All right, so determining our steps. Steps are the exact same. We just are going to find things slightly different for each one. Okay, the first one, the parabola opens upward or downward, is going to be based on the a value, so that's not changing. The second one, determine the axis of symmetry and the vertex of the parabola. The axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. And the vertex is going to be negative b over 2a, and then f of negative b over 2a. So to find that y value, by evaluating the function, oops, for negative b over 2a. So plug in your x value, and we'll do an example of this in a bit. So then we're going to find any x-intercepts by solving f of x equals 0. And then the real solutions of that quadratic are the x-intercepts. With this, we're going to either have to solve by factoring, or quadratic formula. Solve by factoring or the quadratic formula. When we find the y-intercept, we're again finding f of 0. But we have a shortcut here. So I'm going to write this out. If we find f of 0 of our general form here, notice what happens. Well, 0 squared is 0 times a, that cancels. B times 0, that cancels. So all we're left with is c. So that's a shortcut you can use. And then we're going to plot all of our points, use our axis of symmetry to find any additional points, and then make our curve. So if we look at this first example, negative x squared minus 2x plus 1. First thing, our a value is negative 1, which means we're facing down. So now to find our vertex, we're going to do a little bit more work. So we want to start off with finding x equals negative b over 2a. If you want, go ahead and write this out. We know a equals negative 1, b equals negative 2, and c equals 1. Okay. So plug in what we have. We have negative 2, divided by 2 times negative 1. Well, two negatives make a positive. So we have 2 divided by negative 2, which equals negative 1. And now we're going to plug that back in to find the x value of our vertex. So we're going to find f of negative 1. So negative 1 squared minus 2 times negative 1 plus 1. And if you want, plug this all in your calculator at once, and that way you don't have to worry about the negatives or making any mistakes. So we have negative 1 plus 2 plus 1, which equals 2. Okay. All right, third step, we want to find our x-intercepts. I'm going to set this equation equal to 0. And let's see here. I'm going to try factoring this first. Let's divide everything by a negative. So we have 0 equals positive x squared plus 2x minus 1. So do we have any factors of -1? That will add to be 2. So we can't factor it. So now we're going to have to use quadratic formula. So x equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of -2 squared minus 4 times -1 times 1. All divided by 2 times -1. So simplify this expression. We get 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 plus 4 over -2. 4 plus 4 is 8. So 2 plus or minus the square root of 8 over 2. And we can keep simplifying this. And we will get 1 plus or minus the square root of 2. Unfortunately, that doesn't really help us graph. So we're going to go ahead and estimate this. So if we find the square root of 2, I'm going to round to 1 decimal place. We get 1 plus or minus 1.4. Okay, so that tells us x equals, let's see here, it'd be 2.4. And then if we do 1 minus 1.4, we get -0.4. Okay, so our x-intercepts are 2.4, 0 and -0.4, 0. And then lastly, we want to find our y-intercept. And remember, we're finding f of 0 here, which is going to just equal our value of c. And here c equals 1. So we have the ordered pairs 0, 1. So now we're going to graph each of these points. So -1, 2 for our vertex. Then we have 2.4. And I just did something wrong. What did I do wrong? Oops, sorry. This should be a -2 down here. Should make that a -1 plus or minus. So we're going to actually have -2.4 and a positive 0.4. So my apologies. Let's fix that over here. So we're going to have 0.4 and -2.4. We have our y-intercept of 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw that axis of symmetry. So that way we can reflect to find a 5th point. And then draw your parabola. Okay. All right, here our domain. It's going to be from -infinity to +infinity. And our range, since we're facing down, is going to be from -infinity to 2 with a bracket. All right, I'm going to have you try B, and then we will go over it in class tomorrow.